Hi everyone and welcome to NBS Presents. I'm your host, Jay Sandhouse. NBS stands for National Broadcasting Society. It's an organization made up predominantly of students with some professionals mixed in. Now the purpose of NBS is to network and meet people in the industry to help you in your career and land a job. Now speaking of jobs, my first job in the industry, I worked for a cable company, Continental Cablevision, back in the day. I was a producer, I was a writer, and I did commercials. I had no money for talent though, and I kept telling my boss, please give me money. There's somebody out there that I really want to hire. I listened to her on the radio every morning on Love 94. He said, well, if that will make your commercials better, you have the cash, gave me the money, got on the phone, and I called my guest today, Gina Martell.
Hi.
Hey, Gina. What a great introduction, huh?
I know. Wow. I'm really
well, you know the story. I refer to you, and you know this is true. I call Gina The Voice. That's my nickname. That's always been my nickname for you because I think you have the greatest voice of any woman I've ever met in my life.
Oh my goodness. Thank you
Well, you
so
know it's
much.
true. You know, we talk about that all the time.
Oh, you're my biggest fan.
That's right.
I owe you a check, don't I?
Well, no, that's all right. But I heard you on the radio. I used to listen to Love 94, big into jazz in the morning, and it was you and Irene Richard.
Well, she was doing midday.
Right.
And I had began doing afternoons.
Right.
Right.
But you did morning at one point.
No.
No?
I didn't do morning. No, but when I started doing middays, we changed the shift.
Okay.
It wasn't from 10 to 2. They really wanted to get into your office when the whole smooth jazz thing started taking over.
Okay.
And I did start at 9 a.m.
Right, that's what it must have been.
You must have heard driving into
So I liked you both, but I liked your voice better.
Oh, thank you.
And I called the station, and I left messages for both of you, and you got back to me within a half hour.
Oh yeah, I was desperate for work. When you're in this business, you take every job you can get.
And the rest is history, and you did voiceovers for me.
Yeah, I did, and that was fun too.
The difference though, then compared to now, then when you needed to do a voiceover for me, I faxed you a script.
Right.
Then you either came over to the cable company, which was out of the way for you because you lived in Miami, we were up in Pompano Beach.
Right.
Or you recorded it in your studio on a reel-to-reel and FedExed it.
Yeah, those are the old days.
So what's different now about it? It's a lot easier.
Well, everything has changed in radio now. First of all, we're really all computer driven. It's unbelievable. I mean, there's a computer, well, one of the I guess majorly used computer systems is the Prophet system, where all the music is put into that, all the commercials, everything, so much more is recorded now. There's a lot of voice tracking that goes on. Like, for example, I resigned from Love 94 about 3 years ago. Wanted to go off on my own, do my own thing. And I'm a full-time voiceover talent now, and I've become a national voiceover talent, which is wonderful. And I'm able to do that in all parts of the country because of technology. I have a studio in my house.
Right.
And so, yeah, initially, a lot of people used ISDN lines. Now everything is MP3'd, and with DSL getting so fast and everything, it's amazing.
So not too many ISDN lines anymore?
There are. People still use them. Like, last year I recorded the co-narrator for a show called Fooled by Nature, which was produced by Animal Planet and the BBC. Once a week, I was up at 8 a.m. to be in the studio at a great studio here in town, Outpost Studios, and they hooked up ISDN with London, and we recorded 5 hours.
I'm guessing an ISDN line would be good too if, let's say, for example, when I worked at PAX TV, all the producers needed all the scripts done in one shot so they could get you in one room at the same time and then just you knock them all out together?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of musicians that have used ISDN, or Telezephyr is really what's considered.
Okay.
And Frank Sinatra recorded the duet CD many years ago, and he couldn't be in the studio with every one of the musicians that he had picked. He recorded Gloria Estefan. She was here, and he was in New New York, and they did that, you know, through ISDN. It was amazing. It's a broadcast one, basically. It comes out as broadcast quality.
So now you say you have a studio in your house, and you were kind of teasing me a couple of years ago and say, I do everything out of the house now. I'm never in the studio, but don't tell anyone.
I know, that was a secret.
Take us through a day of doing production.
Well, when I was at Love, well, I ended up going back live, okay? But there was a period there after I had my son that I wanted to be at home with him. And they were very gracious in letting me voice track. And it worked out wonderfully. I did have an ISDN line. We did use that. And they had a producer back in the studio that entered everything in the profit. So my program director, Rich, would fax me over or email me the music logs. I really didn't have to use the commercial logs because everything was put in already, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I had promos and PSAs and you know, events and things like that coming up that I needed to talk about.
Right.
So I had everything sent to me, and in my fuzzy slippers, my pajamas, many times, every day, basically, I would get in to my home studio and close the door, and my producer at the time, Tim, would dial me up, and I would just go through the whole, you know, 5 hours of music, and you couldn't tell. You couldn't tell. I mean, I made plenty of mistakes. I left them in there so to make it sound more real.
Okay.
And I was #2 in the market for a long time doing that. It was beyond my belief that that could possibly happen.
But now, did you have to listen to, did you sit there as if you were doing it live, or did you just cut the tracks, for example, saying, whoa, that was Richard Elliott, now we're going to hear Dave Koz, or did you actually listen to the music?
Well, let me tell you something. To be a jock, you have to know your music. Okay, so if I went in there and had no idea what the song was, you know, if I'm good at faking it a little bit, okay, but you know, predominantly smooth jazz, you know the format and everything, you know, and so I had the music sheet, and I knew who was, you know, I was coming out of, so I would back sell, you know, the song, and then, you know, say who I was and give an approximation of time. Okay. You know, talk about whether that was coming up. And that was it. And then say coming up is, you know, whatever I had up next, and they just put it right into the computer.
Now, what kind of equipment did you have in the house?
Well, I had my Telezephyr. I had a Mackie board, which I had 16 channels, which I didn't need 16 channels, but I had 16 channels.
Did they pay for it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I did.
That was the trade-off of staying home.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I loved it though. Because I really, you know, had a newborn baby, and I just wanted to be at home with him, you know, and it worked out great. It worked out wonderful. And then, you know, I got to the point where I just wanted to go back live. You know, I love the interaction with my listeners. I guess I'm a strange jock. I love answering the phones and talking to them, and you know, we kind of developed a friendship, and it was neat. They'd come out to my appearances.
And I love calling you when I knew you were on the air.
Oh, you know, a lot of people do that.
You know, I took great pride in doing it.
Yeah, you know, I know, it's funny. It's a joke because everyone, you know, tries to get me to laugh. Like my program director would do that sometimes. He'd be out somewhere, and he would call me, and I'd say, hold on a second. I'd put,
yeah, you used to do
and
that
he'd
to
be
me all the time.
screaming in the background. and I'm very easy to make laugh. I mean, I'm easily entertained. Let's just put it that way. And I would start cracking up laughing, and I'm very real on the air. I'll tell you that. I mean,
well, that's why I love listening to you.
Thank you.
Now, I know you like jazz only because I know you.
I love jazz.
But now, did you love jazz before you started working for Love 94? That was your favorite kind of music?
Well, I grew up in a household just full of music. I had no choice but to end up in the music business. Even though previously, before radio, I wanted to be a doctor, okay? But the chemistry and the math were just killing me.
Okay.
But I would have been a great doctor. But anyway, I fell into radio and absolutely loved it. It was a perfect fit because my father's Brazilian and Italian, but I grew up with all Brazilian music. And my mother was hardcore Stan Getz and, you know, all the great American jazz artists, and then classic rock, well, classic rock now.
Okay.
But at the time, you know, everybody was new. I grew up listening to a lot of Gino Vanelli and then Antonio Carlos Jobim and Stan Getz, and man, it was like I had no choice. So I had a deep love of the music to begin with, okay? I lived a couple places also when I was growing up. I did spend a little time in Brazil as a child, but then I also moved to Lee County, Georgia, which is about that big, okay? And I fell in love with country music too.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I have this wide variety of music that I love.